I'm Darian Alexis, and welcome to a 20-something survival guide, the place where you and me learn to survive and thrive in our 20s and beyond. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode.
I sweat so bad. Can you see
my feet when I sit like this?
No.
My legs? Okay, because I'd be looking stupid as fuck right now. My little legs, I look like a little doll sitting on the side of the couch. Hey y'all, and welcome back to a 20-something survival guide. I'm your host, Darian Alexis, and I could not be more excited to have this guest on today. We are here to talk about quarter-life crises, because as you may know from my social media, I am going through one about literally every single day. In fact, last night I was crying through the entire night, so we can talk about that today. But first, I wanted to introduce our guest, Natalie Palik, the host of Naptime Podcast. So Miss Natalie, do you want to introduce yourself further?
Absolutely. So, hi everyone. I'm so excited to be here. I just love Darian's energy, and even though we haven't
your
met,
energy.
Thank you. Even though we haven't met in person, I just, I can feel who you are through the screen, and just like your episodes, I just really vibe with you, and especially in the podcast space, it's important to find personalities that you mesh with and to not just network with, but become friends with. So I'm very excited to be here. I'm also 25, going through my own quarter life crisis. I live in New Jersey, which if you would have asked me, where do you want to live when I was a little girl? It never would have been New Jersey, but that's part of the quarter life crisis. It's part of the vibes. We're here for it. And I started my podcast in August of 2023. So just kind of been expanding out into the world, and I quit my job very recently, which I'm sure we'll talk more about.
Can you talk a little bit about why you feel that you're personally qualified to talk about quarter life crises? Is there any other tea you'd like to spill before we get into it?
So I think especially like our age group, when we turned 20, we went through so much. Like me personally,
Period.
Right when I turned 20, I met my boyfriend, who we've been together for a little over 5 years. So wow. I went into my 20s in my first healthy relationship. Once I turned 21, had the fun 21s, COVID hit a few months later, took out my junior year. So that was a mind fuck. Senior year was not what I expected it to be at all. Graduated. And then my parents sold my childhood home, which is something that will always be tough to me.
That is brutal. If my parents ever did that, I'd be so pissed.
And it's funny because, I was born in Ohio. We moved to Arizona.
Same.
Okay, we are literally the same person.
Ohio, Midwest girlies.
Literally. And we moved to Arizona when I was 5. And if you ask little Natalie, that was the worst thing my parents could have ever done to me. But now on the flip side, 20 years later, them moving back to Ohio was a real stab in the back. So I've just, like all of us, have experienced things that were never in the plan and just kind of trying to roll with the punches. So I think I can help provide some insight on living a life that, was never part of the plan, essentially, but trying to make the best of it.
No, definitely. I think that the one thing I've learned through going through all these podcast episodes with all of these guests, all in our 20s, all struggling, is that life is never what you plan. And even if you are a planner, things are going to get changed and messed up. And sometimes it leaves us going through a crisis, which let's talk about the definition of a quarter life crisis, because I had to look it up because I'm a bit dramatic. And so I say that everything is a quarter life crisis. But now looking at the definition, I feel like I'm not that dramatic, because the definition is a quarter life crisis is a period of uncertainty and questioning what typically occurs when people feel trapped, uninspired, and disillusioned during their mid-20s to early 30s.
Period.
That really encompasses everything that I feel like I go through on a daily basis. Like, do you feel the same?
I feel the exact same. And do you know that meme of it's all the little Nemo characters in their little bag in the water? And it's usually when you finish your favorite episode or your favorite season on Netflix, and it's what do we do next? That is how I felt the last 2-3 years, probably. Since I graduated that first post-year grad, I'm who is Natalie? Who
Literally.
is she?
That was another reason I was bawling my eyes out last night, because I have just to spill the tea, I will not name names, but I was supposed to be on a podcast last night, and I'm usually the one that has guests. I'm never a guest. So I was like really excited. I was kind of nervous. And then the girl doesn't show up for a second time in a row. And I just kind of sat there, and I was like really like annoyed because I spent the
Yeah.
time getting ready, doing makeup, setting up, like prepping, didn't make any plans on a Friday night, which I'm trying to get better about making plans on a Friday night because, still young. I can still go out and do things, which I don't. I'm like a grandma. I sit at home all the time. It's
Me
fine.
too.
We can talk about it later. But I like sat there and I'm like, it just like really hit me in my core. And then it just made me spiral. What am I doing with my life? Who am I? Why did she cancel? Everyone hates me. I suck at everything. I just went through a doom spiral. There's just something about 25 that feels so much worse than any other age of my 20s. For me personally. I know some people that have been going through 25 with grace, but I feel like the first 4 years of my 20s, they were hard, but also it was hard for everyone because we were in the pandemic. We're on the other side of the like rainbow now. Okay, life is back to normal and I have no idea who I am. I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea what I want for the future.
No, same here. Like, honestly, 23 and 24 were absolutely horrible. I don't know if I can chalk that up to being in a completely new state, no friends, no family. My safety nets were gone. My house in Arizona was gone. My parents were in Ohio, which when I go to their house, like to go visit family, I feel like I'm at some stranger's house and I feel like it shouldn't be that way because I go into my room filled with all of my stuff from my childhood and I'm like, I feel awkward here. And I don't know if I can also credit it to the job that I was working since I was in the pandemic. So it was like, just felt like I was outgrowing all of these places. And when I turned 25, it was kind of like this sense of relief of like, oh my gosh, but now I'm like, oh my gosh, like I just checked out the last 2 years, truly.
No, for sure. And can I ask like what part of Ohio you're living in? Just because, I'm from Cleveland. So I'm just so curious.
So I was born in Akron and my parents moved back literally like a neighborhood away from where I grew up. So they're back in Akron. Yeah.
Okay. And so how did you end up in New Jersey?
So my boyfriend and I, we met in college. We went to college in Florida and he's from New Jersey. So when we like were done with college, thankfully I was working remote. So I was able to go like back and forth from Arizona to New Jersey. And my parents were like, we're moving to Ohio because my brother, the firstborn, the golden child, moved to Ohio with my two nephews. And my parents were like, oh, you're not really here. Like you can do whatever. We're going to move to Ohio. So I was like, damn, I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place, New Jersey and Ohio. What am I picking? So picked New Jersey and my boyfriend and I, we got our apartment here. So trying to make roots, feeling a lot more positive about it than I did the last 2 years. But definitely 3 years ago, if I was like, oh, my 5-year plan, none of this was part of it.
So relatable. And do you like see yourself living in New Jersey for the rest of your 20s? Or are you guys trying to go somewhere else?
So my boyfriend he has a business here. So like, I know we'll always have to kind of be here, but it's always been in our plan since we like started dating that we want to be in Florida. So I know with the pandemic, everyone kind of fled New Jersey to go to Florida. So it's, everyone's saying it's full, but I think when I'm a mom and such, I would like to be in Florida.
Totally respect that. I only ask because one of the like quarter life crises I feel like I've personally been facing has to do with moving. So I grew up in Ohio, as you know. I went to college in Ohio and I was always like, I need to get out of Ohio. Ohio sucks. I hate the people here. Ohio is the worst. And then I got a job in Indiana and was living in Indiana working at Purdue when I met my boyfriend. And when I was in Indiana, I like didn't love it either. I loved the people. I loved my job, but I always wanted to live on the East Coast. So when my boyfriend got a job in Connecticut, he moved up here about 5 months before me. And I was so excited. I was like, I am going to be an East Coast girly. I am going to be living that like coastal old money lifestyle. No. That was all a lie. First of all, Connecticut is not my jam one bit. I do not love it here. It is not what I expected. I thought I do live on the coast, so I will say that it is cuter on the coast than in other parts. Have you been to Connecticut?
I have not, but I have a lot of friends that are from there.
Okay. Okay. Well, a lot of people say like Connecticut is the connector because it is. It's the connector between New York and Boston, which are, in my opinion, both better places. But yeah, I am like going through this crisis again because I uprooted my entire life to move here for my boyfriend, and I do not regret that one bit because I love him and I feel like he truly is my person. I waiting on the ring.
Girl,
But
same.
if your boyfriend is listening to this episode, hint hint.
Right.
But now that I'm like here, I'm ready for that next step in my life. I want to have kids and start a family. And like, I miss my family so much. So part of me
Same.
does want to move back to Ohio. The hard part is my boyfriend is from Atlanta. So his family's there. So we're just kind of trying to feel out next steps. But I have just been going through it this past year living in Connecticut, having to start over, having no friends here, no support system. Do have friends, but also part of me is like, take me back to Ohio, which I never thought I would say in my entire life because I was trying to get the hell out of there as I was popped out with my mom.
Totally get that. And my boyfriend, like his entire family, both sides, mom and dad sides, cousins, grandmas, everyone's in New Jersey. And they're Italian, so there's always a big family gathering. And like, I love that. But also, I'm like, oh, it's so sad. I want to see my family. I have to travel for every single holiday, which I do. But it's like, I'm getting to that point where, you know, like when I am engaged and I am married, I want to start hosting my own holidays and not having to be
For
like,
sure.
well, my mom and dad aren't going to be there every single time. So I definitely feel you with you miss your family. I'm kind of stuck between like, oh, I could totally just go stay in my room in Ohio, but also like, I'm a woman now.
No, for sure. Have you even thought about like the fact when you do get engaged, where you want to hold the festivities since all your family's in Ohio?
So I have looked at like plenty of venues and stuff, and there are just so many beautiful venues in Pennsylvania, which never thought I would say that because there's nothing there. But I do think that I would probably have it in Pennsylvania or New Jersey. The Pinterest board.
Oh my gosh, my Pinterest board has changed significantly. Like I have one and I had to erase everything because it was like so cringe from when I was like 10 or 13. I don't know. I'm like a super psycho planner. So my board is ironed out. I have a clothing board, I have a bridesmaid board, I have a ring board, I have a shoe board,
Yes.
I have a food board. I don't know about you, but Pinterest is my ish.
Absolutely. I love Pinterest. It's so underrated too.
For sure. I feel like that is one social media site that I think I need to get back to. It is one where I feel like I'm not comparing myself and I feel like I get so much inspiration from it. Whereas
I
like
agree.
Instagram, I'm looking and I'm like, oh my God, that girl's so much prettier than me. Oh my God, they're way better at editing their content. Oh my God, why am I not engaged yet? Why am I not like married? Why don't I have a kid? Why don't I have a house? So yeah, Pinterest doesn't do me like that.
And that's how I feel too, especially at this age. We have like two different categories we fall into.
Yes.
Either we're the party girl that's going out every single day. I've graduated from party girl to like the middle stage because I'm not yet engaged or married with a house and kids. So it's like,
for sure,
I'm kind of like in limbo, you know?
I'm in limbo too, which is where all this crisis stuff is coming from. I swear.
Yes.
We're like into the unknown, a little Elsa moment here. That's how I feel. But I did want to talk about the 8 signs that you might be experiencing a quarter life crisis. So the first one is you're not sure what you want to do with your life. How do you feel about that? Same.
Yeah, 100%. Even with me quitting my job, I've been thinking about it for like a year, but I'm like, oh, I've been doing it for 2 years, almost 3 years. But on the flip side, I'm like, girl, you've been doing this for way too long. Like, you don't like it here. It doesn't serve you. But I'm like, oh, but the pay is okay. And like, I've been here for a while. But the other side, it's like, but if you stay, you're going to lose out on opportunities that are literally right here. So
walk us through that. Was it really just like your mental health that was waning? Is that why you quit? Can you talk a little bit like to the listeners about what was the final breaking point for you?
absolutely. So I got hired literally like 2 days after I graduated college, and I was kind of working with a company before I graduated, but then I like, was a salary employee, whatever. And there was just so many changes. It was remote, so I thought I had like was winning at life with it being remote. But then I was like, okay, I'm in my apartment all day long. These people aren't the nicest to me. There was just a lot of toxic female energy as well, which like,
oh my God, I hate girls that are not girls.
Me too, especially older women. And it's like, okay, I was on a dance team. I was on a cheer team. I had mean cheer coaches. I was in sorority life. I was in a mean high school friend group. Like, I don't need that. I don't need that in my work life. So thankfully, like my boyfriend is able to like take over in the time being, and I'm doing things that actually serve me and using my major. So when I accepted the job, it was still really COVID-y era. So I was like, ooh, a job. Like, even though it had nothing to do with my major. So I was like, okay, girl, like, it's time. It's time to cut the ties. And once I left, I'm so glad I left, because I heard from so many people that higher ups and everyone was talking negatively about me, and like still to this day stalking my social media, listening to my podcast, like being my number one fan. So
okay,
in hindsight,
that's fine.
I'm glad.
Please listen. No, seriously, like
exactly.
Give me those analytics. I went viral on TikTok. So on TikTok, my one TikTok got 4 million views. And
was it of your boyfriend?
Yeah, it was of my boyfriend. You saw it?
Yes.
Anyways, it's like my one post that went big, of course, and it's him, not me.
Right.
So people like, whatever. Don't appreciate my talents, but you appreciate my boyfriend. It's okay. I'll use his good looks to get me there. No, anyways. But I was just like so anxious about being perceived by people I went to high school with.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I had my profile views on. So I saw that these girls from my high school all viewed my profile like at the same time. And so I literally had an anxiety attack. I know it shouldn't bother me, but I'm like, I definitely was sent in some group chat. I had to have been sent in some group chat because I could see that they all viewed my profile at once and none of them were following me. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, that made me anxious. I did not like that.
It's the fan behavior. And same thing, like when I started getting more active on social media, you know how you can see your insights of like someone sending your post somewhere?
Yeah.
Like some of mine, it's like 20 plus. I'm like, who?
I'm like a selfie too. It's like the most random thing.
I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I want to be in on it.
Yeah, I want to be on the tea. What are you saying about me? Like, let me know, let me in. But also, thank you, because you're helping me with my analytics and helping boost me get to the people that I want to be in front of and the community I want to be building. So I'm kind of here for it too. I try not to take it too personal, but for me, not sure what I want to do with my life. When I say I'm not sure what I want to do with my life, part of me wants to move to Europe and start over. Part of me wants to be in New York City, like running around, boss babying it up.
We'd be like 20 minutes away.
Oh no, seriously, but I can still take the train down to you now, so it's not too far.
True.
And then another part of me literally wants to go off the grid and just learn to live off the land. I don't know if you get this feeling. I get this feeling all the time. I feel like my heart is torn in so many places and I have no idea what I want to do, when before I like had it all planned out.
Same. That's one thing. Like, I don't know if like everyone listening is religious or whatnot, but I have always been told, you know, when you tell God your plans, he just laughs in your face.
Yeah.
And I
did you just say that on your podcast episode recently?
I did, yeah.
Okay. Because I was like, wait, I'm having a deja vu moment. But then I also was listening to you on the way to work. Anyways, continue.
But it's so true. It's like, I have never felt that up until these last few years. Because usually, I'd be like, oh, I want this to happen. Please happen. And it happens because it's like, I was living in my truth and like I was aligning myself with something. But now I feel like once you hit your 20s, you align yourselves with so many different things because there's so many doors and opportunities. So, like, when is the door going to close? How do I know which one to go after? There's no clear like path. So it's like trial and error still, and it sucks.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. We're still trying to figure it out. Do you have any tips
Yes.
on how you think the listeners could figure it out?
So I really think it just taking a risk, taking a leap. And I know that's like way easier said than done because here I was sitting for 2 years telling my boyfriend every week, I'm going to quit. I'm going to quit. And he's like, okay, do it. Like, I believe in you. Like, you can do it. And I'm like, yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
all right. And then finally, after 2 years, I took the leap. So I think really just canceling out all the noise around you because people love to distract you and people love to, have commentary in your ear on what they think is best for you, but they're not living your life. They're not going to have to deal with the pros, the cons, or we know what they say, the repercussions, the benefits, whatever. So I think try to just cancel out the noise and really focus on like, okay, what are the few things that I want and action steps to get to those results that you're wanting.
I love that. And I think that my advice for this first point would just be if you don't know what you want to do, that's okay. Like, we
Yes.
still have time to figure it out. I'm a list person. So if you want, make a list. Like Natalie said, take a risk. Just choose one of the things on the list. Flip a freaking coin if you have to.
Right.
But just try your best to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, which is something that I'm like trying to preach because I
Same.
don't think any of us know what they want to do. I remember talking to my dad. He's like, yeah, I'm in my 60s and I still don't know what I want to do with my life. So I don't think this
Yes.
feeling ever goes away. And so I think that it's just okay. And if anything, no, you're not alone because here are two girlies
Mm-mm.
that 110% understand what you're feeling right now.
And honestly, just fake it till you make it. Like, I even think of Alex Earl and I'm like, does she even feel confident in what she's doing? Probably not.
Seriously.
So,
And how many followers does she have? Millions.
right.
Reading somewhere that she made 4 million. I like just shouted 4 million as I was sitting in this exact spot on my couch. And my boyfriend's like, 4 million? What? And I'm like, Alex Earl makes 4 million a year. And he's like, who's Alex Earl? I was like, what? And then I was like, wait,
That,
that's kind of a flex that you don't know. I love that.
right? Like, the lack of social media boyfriends, like, always a green flag. Always a green
I
flag.
know. I swear it's always the social media girlfriends with the boys. Like the men have no social media. That is just like the
Exactly.
perfect pairing.
100%.
So, our second point in the signs you might be experiencing a quarter life crisis is two, you're itching for change. And you know what?
Yes.
Sometimes, actually, I'm always itching for change, one. But
Me
one
too.
way that I do this is with my freaking hair. I feel like my hair is the
Yes.
one thing I have control over. So if you've been here for a while, you know I've been through every hair color, I've been through every cut, and I always am trying to switch it up.
Yes. I actually wrote that down for like points to talk about on how I know when I'm going through this is my hair because I've done like hot pink, red, light pink, chopped it off one too many times, gone the cowboy copper. Now I'm like black. It's like kind of light brown again. But I totally agree with you is that you can constantly control that and change it.
It's like the one thing that makes me feel like I have a hold on my life because I have not done all the fun colors for me. I've mainly been back and forth between like blonde, brunette, blonde,
Yeah,
brunette, blonde, brunette. I don't really get told I look like celebrities when I have brown hair. But one celebrity that I get told I look like is Florence Pugh, which I don't really think I look like, but also
I
Florence
could see
Pugh's
it.
like little sis is Sabrina Carpenter, and I'm obsessed with Sabrina
Yes.
Carpenter. So I'm like, should I dye my hair blonde again so I can look like Florence Pugh and Sabrina Carpenter again? Because I do
I
not look
can
like them when I'm brunette, period. It's really just the hair.
No, yeah. Every time when I go blonde, everyone's like, "You look so good," and I'm like, "I don't even look like me." So now I'm like kind of offended.
Which is funny because my siblings, my whole entire family has brown hair.
Yeah.
However, when I have brown hair, which this is like basically the most natural my hair has been in years, my
Mhm.
siblings are like, "Ew, you look ugly. Like you look better as a blonde." And I'm like, "How dare you say that because bestie, I look exactly like you."
Exactly.
Like me and my siblings are actually cut and paste, cut and paste, cut and paste.
Yeah.
Do you look like your siblings?
So I only have a one brother, but I think as I've gotten older, I think our faces look a little bit more alike, and like we have basically the same eye color. But people that like meet us at first are like, "Oh, you two look alike," but I don't. I personally don't think we look alike. But maybe if I had a sister.
Yeah, that makes sense. I definitely look more like my sisters than my brother. I have two sisters and one brother. However, my oldest sister and my brother, he's the youngest, they look a lot alike. And then I kind of look like both of my sisters, but they don't look alike. Like I'm the one that looks like everyone, kind of.
Oh, that's funny. You
Yeah,
bring it
just 'cause
together.
there's so many of us. But if you're itching for change in your life, yes, it might mean you're going through a quarter life crisis, but also it might just be that you're looking for some growth and you're ready to go on to the next adventure. Like, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, and it also could just be like sometimes when I notice I'm in a rut or like getting out of a rut, I'm like, oh, I want to, go get my nails done or go dye my hair or go cut my hair. I think that, yeah, you might not exactly be in like this quarter life crisis. You might just be coming out of something or just want to spice things up, feeling a little bored with your life.
And we love a little spice, a little flavor. That makes life more fun. It makes it worth living.
Exactly.
The next one is that your relationships are fluctuating more than usual.
Yeah. I just had a big like friendship breakup with one of my best friends of over like 15 years, and
Shut up.
yeah, oh, it's giving me a thumbs up. Is it because I'm doing a thumbs
Good
up?
job. I
That's
think
so
it's because
cute.
you're doing well.
Oh, love that. But yeah, so it was like 15 years. We kind of just, phased out, and that kind of sucks because you're outgrowing people. And I never believed my parents when they were like, you're not going to keep your same friends forever. I was like, okay, maybe you, like you're toxic. I'm not. But it's so true. You can just outgrow people, and it doesn't mean they're a bad person or that you're a bad person. Just that, when push comes to shove, if you're going to do something different than them, it's better to have that happen now than in 10 years.
And you know what? I wouldn't say that it kind of sucks. I think it really sucks. It sucks ass. Big, fat, juicy booty is what it feels like to lose a friend, okay? Like,
Yes.
I have lost many friends in my life. And I wouldn't say, like, recently my relationships have been fluctuating because I think the early part of my 20s, like 20 to 25, is really where I kind of trimmed the fat, if you will.
Yeah.
I used to have so many friends. And I would say that I still have a large amount of friends, kind of.
Mhm.
But everyone I'm friends with, it's like I have two friends from college, like two friends from home, like that kind of thing. Whereas like if I didn't go away to school or something, I would probably just be with my two best friends from like my childhood. But a lot of people have come in and out of my life. They come for a season, reason, lesson. I don't know. Did you say this in one of your episodes? Do you remember what you said?
I think I did. That's when like the breakup with my best friend was starting, but now it's like official. It's like we're done with each other, unfortunately. But yeah, just people come in for like a reason, a season, a lesson, or a blessing. Outgrowing people sucks.
Hey guys, thanks for kicking off season 2 with us. Make sure you come back to hear part 2 of our quarter life crisis coming out soon. Love you guys, and don't forget to survive and thrive.